Hey everyone, and welcome back. With October right around the corner,
Oh, yeah.
we thought we'd dive into a topic that might seem, well, a little Halloween-y,
Uh-huh.
at first glance anyway,
Okay.
and that's the fear of the Lord.
Right.
But don't worry,
Okay.
this isn't about spooky vibes or anything like that.
Gotcha.
We're digging into what it really means to fear God,
Okay.
especially in Proverbs chapters 1 and 9.
Okay.
And I think you'll find it surprisingly empowering.
Yeah.
It's interesting how often we misunderstand this whole concept.
Oh, absolutely.
We picture fear as something that makes us want to hide under the covers,
Right.
but that's not what's being talked about here at all.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Proverbs keeps hammering home this idea that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So clearly it's a big deal. So help us unpack this a little.
Yeah, what is this fear really all about?
Well, I think it all starts with understanding the original Hebrew word, yara.
Oh.
And it's less about terror and more about reverence, awe, deep respect.
Okay.
Like imagine standing on the shore of the Pacific Ocean for the first time,
Yeah.
feeling completely dwarfed by its vastness.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That sense of awe,
Yeah.
that humbling realization of your own smallness in the face of something so much greater.
Oh, yeah.
That's closer to yara than being scared stiff.
Okay, I can see how that fits.
Yeah.
So instead of being afraid God's going to zap us for every mistake,
Right.
it's more about understanding how small we are compared to the creator of, well, everything.
Exactly. It's that awe and respect that inspires us to live differently.
Okay.
And this is where it gets really cool.
Okay.
This fear isn't about isolating us.
Okay.
It's an invitation to something much bigger.
I like where you're going with this. It reminds me of that analogy in Proverbs 9, where wisdom is this woman throwing this huge feast.
Yes. And it's not just any old dinner party.
Right.
It's like wisdom is hosting this amazing open house.
Right.
And everyone's invited.
Yeah,
But there's a deeper meaning there, wouldn't you say?
definitely.
Yeah.
It's not about some exclusive club or secret knowledge, is it?
You got it. God isn't hiding wisdom away,
Yeah.
keeping it from us.
Right.
It's offered freely,
Okay.
especially to those who feel a bit lost, who Proverbs calls the simple.
So it's about being open to guidance,
Mm-hmm.
being willing to listen and learn in our everyday lives.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I find that incredibly encouraging.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not about being perfect, is it?
Not at all. And, this open invitation isn't about gaining knowledge just for the sake of it.
Right.
There are tangible benefits to living with this kind of reverence for God.
And that's where Proverbs 9.1 comes in, right? It connects this fear of the Lord with a longer life.
It does.
But it's not just about quantity, is it?
Right.
There's something about the quality of life, too.
You're absolutely right. It's not just about stacking up birthdays.
Right.
It's about living better.
Mm-hmm.
When we truly revere God, it changes how we approach every decision.
Because we're seeking his wisdom
Yes.
instead of just relying on our own limited understanding.
Exactly. We start to see that.
Mm-hmm.
His ways aren't there to box us in,
Okay.
but to protect us, to lead us to a more fulfilling life.
Okay.
It's like trusting a coach.
Yeah.
Even when you don't fully understand the game plan, they see the bigger picture,
Right.
the things you might miss when you're caught up in the action.
Okay, that's a great analogy. We've all had those moments where we're so focused on what's right in front of us
Right.
that we miss the bigger picture.
Exactly.
God, on the other hand, has that all-22 view right.
Yes, he does.
Sees it all.
Precisely. And just like a good coach wouldn't set their players up for failure,
Right.
God wants to guide us toward victory, to experience the fullness of life. He intended for us. He has our best interests at heart.
This reminds me of that story you shared about your dad, the garden, and some, let's call it optimistic planting in Michigan.
Ah, yes. Well, my dad, being from the South, learned the hard way that you don't plant certain things in Michigan until after the last frost,
Oh, no.
even with the best intentions.
Yeah.
He hadn't quite grasped the wisdom of the seasons up here.
And that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't have to be gardening experts or theological scholars to benefit from a little wisdom.
Yeah.
It's about being humble enough to admit we don't have all the answers.
Totally.
And trusting in a source that does.
Absolutely. That's where real growth happens. Not in avoiding mistakes altogether,
Right.
but in how we respond to them.
Okay.
It's about acknowledging that we're not in this alone. We have the ultimate coach in our corner, always ready to offer guidance and wisdom.
Right.
But it starts with us taking that first step.
It makes you think, What would change if we lived each day with that reverence for God at the forefront of our minds? It's not just about listening to a podcast episode and saying, oh, that's nice.
Right.
It's about putting it into practice.
Precisely. This isn't just some abstract theological
Oh,
concept.
yeah.
It's about how we live our lives, day in and day out. It's about those choices we make,
Yeah.
even when no one's watching.
Right.
It's about asking yourself,
Yeah.
am I walking in reverence to God in everything I do?
Okay, now that's a question that really makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's easy to go through life on autopilot,
Oh, yeah.
but that question jolts you awake a little.
It does. But it's also incredibly freeing because it challenges us to examine everything.
Okay.
Our motives, our words, our
Yeah.
actions.
Yeah.
Imagine for a moment you're texting a friend.
Uh-huh.
What would change if you pictured Jesus reading over your shoulder?
Whoa. Okay, that's a powerful image.
Yeah.
Suddenly that snarky comment you're about to send doesn't seem so funny anymore.
Right. It highlights the reality that we're constantly being invited into a deeper relationship with God,
Yeah.
one marked by reverence and wisdom. And it's in that space,
Okay.
in that continual seeking of his guidance, that we find true freedom and purpose.
It's about aligning our desires with his.
Yeah.
Understanding that his ways are ultimately for our good.
Yes.
And it's not always easy, but it's always worth it.
Absolutely. It's in those moments of surrender,
Yeah.
of saying, your will be done, that we truly tap into the abundant life he promises.
So it's not about waiting for some crisis to hit us over the head before we start seeking wisdom.
No.
It's about weaving it into the fabric of our lives, making it a daily rhythm.
Absolutely.
And the amazing thing is you don't have to wait until you're older to start weaving wisdom into your life.
That's so true. In fact, the sooner you embrace this kind of reverence,
Right.
the more it shapes your journey for the better. It's like that verse about honoring the Lord in your youth.
Right.
It's never too early,
Yeah,
or too late for that matter,
that's right.
to start seeking his wisdom.
It's not about hiding away from the world, right?
Yeah,
It's about being in the world, but not of it.
right.
It's about bringing that wisdom and reverence into everything you do.
Exactly. God calls us to be salt and light. It's about engaging with the world, making a positive impact,
Right.
but always rooted in that deep reverence for him.
So it's like, yeah, go ahead and engage with your friends.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there,
Right.
but let God's wisdom guide your steps,
Mm-hmm.
your words, heck, even your text messages.
Now you're getting it. It's in those everyday choices, those little moments where you choose to honor him,
Yeah,
even when no one's watching.
right.
That's where the real adventure begins.
It's about trading in those fear-driven decisions for ones fueled by faith and that deep, unshakable reverence for the God who not only sees you,
Yeah.
but knows you,
Yes.
loves you
That's right.
unconditionally.
And who promises to walk with you every step of the way, guiding you toward that abundant life he has planned.
So here's a question for you to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive on the fear of the Lord.
Okay.
Where in your life are you being called to live with more reverence and wisdom?
That's a great question.
What's one step you can take today to align your heart with his?
Yeah, don't wait for some big crisis
Right.
or put it off till tomorrow.
That's right.
Today's the day.
Embrace the adventure of a life lived in reverence for God and discover the incredible wisdom and freedom waiting for you.
Absolutely. Until next time, everyone.